Hey guys, this is Austin, and today I'm here with a review of the HTC One X for AT&T. With a massive screen, LTE, and Android 4.0 with Sense 4, this is easily the new flagship for HTC, but is it actually any good? Let's start with the hardware. The first thing that jumps out at you is the gorgeous 4.7-inch Super LCD display. With a resolution of 1280 by 720, I can safely say this is one of the best mobile displays I've ever used, right up there with the Retina display on the iPad 3. Colors are much better than normal LCD panels, and the viewing angles are top notch. Perfect isn't a word I ever use in my reviews, but the screen on the One X is very close. The rest of the design on the One X is also quite good. Up top you'll see the speaker grille with hidden notification LEDs, the front-facing camera, which I'll take a closer look at a bit later, along with the nearly hidden proximity and light sensors. Below you'll see the capacitive back, home, and multitasking buttons, which light up in dark areas and work just fine. Unlike most high-end smartphones, the One X is made entirely out of polycarbonate, aka plastic. Generally, I'm a fan of glass and metal in smartphones, but I've got to say the One X is really impressive. Build quality is top-notch as it's all a single piece, and the plastic feels very good in the hand. This also makes the phone very lightweight. Even considering the much larger display and the nearly identical thickness, the One X is still 10 grams lighter than the iPhone 4S. This makes pocketing the phone absolutely no problem at all. As far as ports go, there isn't a lot to speak of. On the left side you'll find micro USB, which is in a slightly awkward position, and on the right is the slightly narrow volume rocker. Up top is the similarly thin sleep wake button, the slot for your micro SIM, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. On the rear is the 8 megapixel camera with LED flash, 5 small contacts for accessories, and the speaker with Beats Audio branding. The speaker works fine, but it's pretty unremarkable. With headphones plugged in, the One X automatically turns on Beats Audio, although you can turn it off if you want. Overall, it's nothing spectacular. Bass is slightly boosted and the range is compressed a bit. Where I was really impressed was with the Beats Audio off. It drove a pair of Audio-Technica AT-HM50s much better than my iPhone 4S, making it easily one of the best phones I've ever tested as far as audio quality goes. Moving on to software, as of this review, the One X sports Android 4.0.3, also known as Ice Cream Sandwich, with the HTC Sense 4 skin. Generally, I'm not a big fan of skins, but Sense 4 is probably the best one I've used yet. For example, the lock screen uses a ring that you can drag up to unlock or drag an app into to immediately launch it. ICS definitely isn't very far below the surface, so if you're familiar with Android, the One X should be very easy to get used to. Performance is rock solid for an Android phone, with the Snapdragon S4 able to power the UI without any major lag. Unfortunately, as with every Android device I've ever used, the overall experience isn't quite as smooth as iOS or even Windows Phone with a single core processor. There always seems to be the slightest delay between giving an input and the phone responding, but it's not really a major issue and it's something you forget about after a while. There's also a car mount accessory available for the One X. Paired with the car application, it gives you easy access to music, GPS, and calls in a very large and car-friendly UI. One place the One X does very well is with the camera. It sports an 8 megapixel rear-facing camera with an impressive f2 aperture and 1080p video recording. Image quality is impressive for a smartphone and right up there with the best from Apple and Nokia, although in lower light I did notice that it tended to oversaturate. With that wide aperture, you can actually get some decent depth of field.
Alright, so I'm now recording using the HTC One X. So as you guys can see here, the video quality is not half bad at all. So right now the phone is on a tripod and the only light in the room is just from the window right in front of me. However, if we go ahead and add some more light right here, and right here, and right here, you guys can see that it definitely makes a big difference. On top of that, if we want to go ahead, although the audio on the One X is not half bad, if you want to go ahead and cut to some external audio, you can definitely tell that it makes the overall video quality much better. And finally, but definitely not least, we can go ahead and do a little bit of color correction to make sure that the video is the absolute best that it can be.
Just as impressive as the camera itself is the software. You're able to fire off images with almost no delay, and if you hold the shutter button, the camera will fire off shots as long as you hold it, and then give you the option to only save the one it deems best, or all of them. You can also shoot stills and video at the same time, with manual controls over everything you need. The front-facing camera is a 1.3 megapixel shooter, and is fairly decent as far as front-facing cameras go. It does shoot 720p video, but you probably won't want to use it for much more beyond video chatting or a quick vlog. As far as the specs go, the One X on AT&T is rocking a Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 system on a chip. This means you'll have 2 Cray cores clocked at 1.5 GHz, Adreno 225 graphics, and 1GB of RAM. While on paper it's down compared to the international version, which is powered by a quad-core NVIDIA Tegra 3 processor, in reality you won't have any issues with normal usage in gaming. The reason for the dual-core CPU is that this version of the One X comes with LTE for AT&T. If you live in an area where AT&T has rolled out their LTE network, you can crack up to 10 megabits per second in both download and upload. Speaking of cellular performance, overall I was impressed. AT&T tends to have issues in my area, but generally the One X grabbed the signal well and provided decent call quality. Another benefit of the Snapdragon is excellent battery life. I was easily able to get through a day of moderate use with the One X, with frequent 3G and Wi-Fi usage with a few calls mixed in. I can sum up the HTC One X in 5 words. This thing is a boss. The screen is superb, design is right up there with the very best, performance is top notch, and is future-proofed with both LTE and NFC. The list price is $200 with a 2-year contract, however Amazon is offering the exact same deal for $150 right now. Overall, it's very simple. If you're interested in an Android phone on AT&T, the One X is the answer. If you're interested in more, feel free to check out the unboxing of the One X. If you enjoyed this video, definitely be sure to leave it a thumbs up, and if you're interested in more videos like this, be sure to subscribe.